Carrying on from task 1.1, we're going to move on to 1.2, validation. Take your previous program and enter the data at the console. Enter data at the console that is of the wrong type for that input. So in this case, I entered in the integer field for age a string, and this causes a problem. We throw an error in this case. We throw an exception in C#. So we want to modify our program for task 1.2 to avoid that particular problem. So what I would suggest doing is going to 1.1, copy your code from task 1.1 into the code folder for 1.2, change directories to 1.2 and the code directory, and in this case we want to say code, and we want to open Visual Studio in this folder. So we should now have our code from program 1.1, and we want to make some changes to this. So we know that this is a string, an int or a float. So when we read these values in, we want to make sure that they're not null, they're of the correct type, they're not outside the boundaries of common sense. So for example, an age isn't going to be minus 900, things of that nature. So this is common defensive programming practice to make sure that user input is valid and sensible. So at this point you would modify your code, you would add the relevant comments to fulfill the requirements of task 1.2, and then move on to 1.3, 1.4 and so on. So in this case I won't record me making the changes to the code, but you could imagine that with a little bit of research and some common sense you'll have a pretty good idea of where to go. And on top of that, check with your mentor about how aggressive your defensive programming needs to be, about things that you may or may not have considered. This is a collaborative effort in that respect. So good luck.